What is up, guys? It's KikiZilla101 here yet again, and welcome back to Kiki and Coffee, the show where we casually talk about stuff and put in as minimal effort as possible while we drink coffee. So grab your coffee, tea, or other preferred beverage, and let's get straight into the video. We're on our third adult collector video now. Third one of the big four, Papo. Now, I know this accidentally ended up looking like I had the most of these guys, but this is actually pretty much all of my Papo stuff. I still do have more Papo stuff than Collecta stuff, but this is basically it. The only Papo figure I did not put up here is the brown variant of the standing Tyrannosaurus Rex. Papo has been with me, yet again, since I've been very young. Schleich has also technically, in the terms of like their really old Replicasaurus line, I had like 2 small figures from them. But really, when I was young, I had safari stuff and a couple Papo things. When I was really young, I had this Tyrannosaurus and this Triceratops. I loved them. They were Jurassic Park figures in my mind. I was just like, yep, these are Jurassic Park figures, and I didn't really actually know they were unofficial because they just looked so official to me. I loved them. I played the hell out of them, and like even this guy is missing a hand. I just realized he actually has the other hand in his mouth. I'm glad I didn't actually drop that out. And I had always wanted to get their Velociraptors. They had Jurassic Park Velociraptor figures. When I was younger, I always wanted those. Those are some that I just always really wanted. These 2 were bought for me by my grandparents. So I was always trying to go over to Grand Rapids, which is where we used to go all the time. It's a toy store here locally. It's not everywhere, but it is in Colorado. It is a chain store too, so I don't know if any of you guys would know about it. But basically, every time I go into Grand Rapids, I'd end up trying to get a hold of another Papo figure. And I always wanted their Jurassic Park style Velociraptors, and the crown jewel was this Jurassic Park Spinosaurus. I always wanted this one. I loved it so much. I wanted it so much when I was a young kid because I loved the Spinosaurus from Jurassic Park 3. That was probably my favorite dinosaur from any of the Jurassic Park films besides the Jurassic Park 3 Velociraptors. I really loved that Spinosaurus. Yeah, actually kind of funny story. Now, I don't want anybody throwing shade at my grandparents, because my grandparents are freaking awesome. I love them. But they ended up, for I think one of my cousins, for their birthday or something, they ended up buying him a Spinosaurus. And I got really jealous, because he ended up showing it to me at some point, and I was like, dang it! I really wanted that one. And I know that they bought me some other stuff that year, I think, that I really did want as well. But in the back of my head, I was constantly always like, dang, I still really need to get a hold of that. Years and years and years and years passed by, and now I have finally gotten it. It was actually in 2018. A great friend of mine named Greg. If you're seeing this, Greg, hey, long time no talk, buddy. But he and I used to work at Petco together, and he saw this at, I think, a comic book shop or some science store, and it was on sale, and he bought it for me, and I was like, holy crap, like, I don't know how you knew that this would work for me, but that's awesome. So I finally got a hold of it. And I am immensely grateful that he got that for me. And despite how I feel about it now, I still want to thank him for it, because I'm really happy that he actually completed a childhood dream of mine, and he didn't even know he was doing it. But getting it in hand, I did realize there was a lot of flaws with it, and I was definitely building it up in my head way too much. It has some seam line issues. It can't stand up straight. I know that some people's can, but a lot of them can't. And its arm just kind of looks silly. But it is an older style Papo figure, and I'm really happy I have it just for the fact that it completes my long childhood dream. If I grew up with it, I probably would like it a lot more. But moving aside from these 3, the Spinosaurus and these 2, everything else you see on here is very recent. I mean, outside of this guy. It was actually in 2012, on my birthday, 2012, my grandparents bought me this Allosaurus and the Papo Komodo dragon. If you guys want to see my collection video, you can see where that is. It's top right corner right now. I loved them both. They were awesome. I loved Komodo dragons, and I loved Allosaurus. Not quite as much as I do now. I love Allosaurus way more now than I did back then, but I loved this figure, and it shocked me because I'm like, whoa, is this what an Allosaurus would look like in the Jurassic Park movies? Because I still thought that Papo was like the official Jurassic Park thing. And I just thought it was awesome, and it, for the longest time, remained my favorite Papo figure to date. It has been recently deranked, which we'll just talk about here in a second, but its pose is amazing, and the detail is stunning. Now we're going to get into what's unique about Papo. From the very beginning, Papo had started out making replicas of, or their spiritual replicas of Jurassic Park things. Like, this is an uncanny example that we haven't talked about yet, is this Pachycephalosaurus from the Lost World Jurassic Park. The pattern's there, the design's there. I got this one more recently, though. The detail is stunning on Papo figures. They're more expensive than any of the other figures, the big four companies like Safari Ltd, Collecta, and Papo. They are by far the most consistently expensive. But the quality doesn't feel like it's going nowhere. The detail is incredible. The paint work has so many different shades and is really masterfully done. The poses are always very expressive and very bold. Very rarely is there something as mild as this, or this baby Triceratops, for example. This baby Triceratops is an example of more recent Papo, though. The paint quality has definitely gone down. There's less of that shading. The creases and cracks in the detail are less obvious. It's more shiny and smoothed over. But then again, I guess they were always kind of shiny. The detail is also much smoother, not as crisp as it used to be. Their designs have swayed away from Jurassic Park stuff, purely. As you can see with the Ceratosaurus, this Acrocanthosaurus, this Spinosaurus, this Velociraptor, which has feathers on it, and probably the best example, a Dilophosaurus without a frill. You go, Papo. However, the prices have actually gone up. A lot of their smaller stuff have gotten more expensive or on par with some of their older large stuff. So unfortunately the prices have gone up and the quality has gotten down a little bit. However, you are getting more scientifically accurate figures and stuff steered away from Jurassic Park. So I guess it kind of balances out depending on how hard you feel against those kind of things. But with Papo, we already talked about the bold poses, and sometimes they're too bold. Unfortunately for this video, I don't have any examples of this where it gets bad. Some of these may not look really great, and some of them maybe I don't really care for too much, in particular like this Spinosaurus, or maybe the Styracosaurus. There are none that are bad here. There are some that are bad, and you guys know what I'm talking about. To name a few, the Pentaceratops from Papo, the Baryonyx, the Therizinosaurus, the Giganotosaurus. Now, some of these you may like, and some of these I wouldn't even actually personally call bad. But what I should be saying is overly bold. Some of them are very photogenic, like the Papo Baryonyx. My friend Gibson, aka Bioniclesaurus, can attest to this. Some of them, like the Therizinosaurus, I actually really like. Some of them, almost nobody likes, like the Cowboy Giganotosaurus. Some of them are just perplex you as to what the heck they were thinking with things like their Pentaceratops. And then there are figures like the crown jewel that is the Papo Amargasaurus, which literally looks like a sized up miniature figure. If you've seen Papo's miniature figures, they look like little tube minis. They're very low detail, very small, and acceptable. You scale that up to the size of one of these figures and it's unacceptable. So Papo has some really great quality, but an extreme variance both directions. It sometimes gets really bad and sometimes really great. But you do have to keep that in mind. They're not a very consistent company. They're a very bold company. But I do think they have a very important place in the community. Something I forgot to talk about inside my collective video is how weak the jaws can be on some of their figures. Papo nails their jaws. Every single figure that's ever had an articulated jaw, despite whether or not you like it or not, like on the Iguanodon, you are going to get a good quality jaw. All of them work. All of them are great quality. They feel fantastic. So there are really great things to be had here. Unfortunately, you do have to accept that with the territory of Papo, they're not always going to produce exactly what you wanted. In particular, a classic example is the new 2020 Giganotosaurus. So many people were vastly disappointed and built up the Giganotosaurus in their head. And I kind of did too. I was really excited for them to finally make a Giganotosaurus at some point. But when it came out, and it's in this cowboy pose that's absolutely ridiculous and it's slightly outdated, I may have been literally one of like maybe 3 people who were absolutely not shocked at all. Reason being is because I can see that this is a trend. This is a thing that Papo does. Occasionally you're going to get things that look like they have a cool sculpt, like the Pentaceratops and the Giganotosaurus, and they're both slightly outdated, but they also just have very bold poses that make them unappealing to some people. Papo is a very interesting company that some people strongly hate, some people strongly love, and then there's people like me who just see them as a really great opportunity for some really unique and awesome figures. And honestly, I think all opinions are valid. If you honestly don't find any value in buying any of Papo's stuff, then don't do it. Buy stuff that makes you happy. Don't be a butthead about it and start complaining about everybody who does like them and shaming them, but just don't get them. If they're not your thing, don't get them. Spend your money on other things. Spend money on things that make you happy. Get things that you know you're going to like. If you love Papo to death and you're trying to get everything, cool. I'm glad that you do. I wish I could love everything as well. But I think for most people, I think that some people, and just for most collectors in general, the healthiest area is the middle. I don't think everybody fits into the category where they hate everything or love everything. And that's just a general thing with everything. But I feel like I see too many people acting like they side with one or the other. And I think it's important that most of you should take the stance I do, and just look at the company as it is. An opportunity for some really cool stuff, and you don't have to buy everything. I don't buy everything from any figure, or any figure company. Maybe at one point I was trying to do that with Safari LSD, but at this point, as an adult collector, I just want to buy stuff that I like. I don't want to get everything. And that's not even to say that the stuff I don't buy, I don't like at all. It's just that I like other stuff more. So I would like to encourage you guys, in particular with Papo, to try to calm down and not cause such a big fuss about things that we already know are going to be coming. And also just look at them as a company that's an opportunity to get some really cool and unique stuff, but not something you can rely on to always depict the animal the way you want them to. But with that said, I think they hold a very special place in my heart and the heart of many other people's in the community. They hold a very special place in the community, and they recently have impressed me beyond comprehension. They made an extremely bold and controversial move by making a limited edition figure, which I'm still against the idea of making limited edition figures and excluding most of the people. But to be fair, there doesn't seem to be actually a lot of them, and they're not running out of stock very soon. But this Spinosaurus here is the most impressive thing that Papo's ever done to me. I did not like this thing at first. I was very concerned about it, but I was going to buy it because I knew that I needed Spinosaurus figures for Season 2 of Mesozoic Isle. And so I knew I needed to buy it, so at least I had options, because it was hard to get Spinosaurus figures at the time. So, or good ones, that is. So I was going to buy it out of obligation, and I did. But I got it, and before I actually ended up receiving it, I saw some in-hand photos, and it started to sway my opinion the other direction. Then I got it in hand, and it is not only my favorite Spinosaurus figure, somehow it has deranked my favorite Spinosaurus figure, which was the Carnegie 2008 figure. I finally got my hands on the PNSO Spinosaurus Etienne, and this is not only still my favorite Spinosaurus figure, it is my new favorite Papo figure. and has somehow deranked this masterfully posed and bipedally stable Allosaurus that has been in my life ever since 2012 and has been extremely special to me. Papo has potential. I still would try to steer them away from too many limited edition things, but there are some amazing things to be had here, and some not so amazing things. But with all that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.